Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Inside the Life of African Leaders. In today's video, our focus will be on Robert Mugabe, the president of Zimbabwe. We will talk about a summary of his life from before and after he rose to power, his impact to his country, and then we will let you decide whether he falls in the good or bad category. We will also touch the deepest secrets that are only known by a select few. Born on February 21, 1924, in Kutama, southern Rhodesia, Mugabe's journey from a young boy in colonial Africa to the leader of an independent nation is marked by triumphs and tribulations. As we navigate through the pages of Mugabe's life, we will explore key aspects, including his early years, rise to power, family dynamics, controversial actions, and the nuanced evaluation of both the detrimental and positive influences he had on Zimbabwe. Chapter 1: Early Life and Rise to Power. His journey into politics began with a focus on education, earning multiple degrees, including a Bachelor of Arts from the University of Fort Hare in South Africa. Mugabe's political activism gained momentum in the 1960s as he became involved in the struggle against British colonial rule. His efforts led to his imprisonment from 1964 to 1974. However, during this period, his influence grew, and he emerged as a key figure in the fight for Zimbabwean independence. In 1980, after years of political negotiations, Zimbabwe gained independence, and Robert Mugabe became its first prime minister. The manner in which he rose to power reflected a complex blend of resistance, negotiation, and political maneuvering. Through this, we are able to understand Mugabe's early life and the circumstances that propelled him into a position of leadership. Chapter 2: Family Life. Robert Mugabe's personal life played a significant role in shaping his public image. In 1961, he married Sally Hayfron, and together they had one son who died in infancy. Sally's influence on Mugabe extended beyond the personal realm, impacting his political perspective. Tragically, Sally passed away in 1992. Subsequently, Mugabe entered into a controversial marriage with Grace Marufu, who had been his secretary and was significantly younger than him. This union attracted public attention and fueled criticism of Mugabe's personal choices. The family dimension of Mugabe's life is a critical aspect of understanding his leadership style. It provides insights into both personal and political dynamics, as family decisions often intersected with his public role. Exploring this facet helps to paint a more comprehensive picture of the man behind the political figure. Chapter 3: Controversial Actions. While Robert Mugabe's early political career was marked by resistance against colonial rule and efforts towards independence, his leadership took a contentious turn once he assumed power. Let's talk about these controversial actions during his regime. Mugabe's regime was characterized by political suppression, with allegations of electoral fraud and manipulation to maintain his grip on power. Opposition parties faced persecution, and dissent was often met with force. The Mugabe era also saw widespread human rights abuses, including instances of torture, extrajudicial killings, and suppression of freedom of speech. International human rights organizations raised concerns about the deteriorating human rights situation in Zimbabwe. One of the most contentious aspects of Mugabe's rule was his land reform program, which aimed to address historical injustices but resulted in widespread economic upheaval. The forced seizure of white-owned commercial farms led to a collapse of the agricultural sector, contributing to economic instability. Examining these controversial actions is crucial in understanding the complexities of Mugabe's leadership, as they had lasting implications on the political, social, and economic landscape of Zimbabwe. Chapter 4: Impact on Zimbabwe. Robert Mugabe's leadership had profound consequences for Zimbabwe, shaping the nation's trajectory in both positive and negative ways. One of the most striking impacts was the severe economic decline. The land reforms, while aiming to address historical injustices, led to the collapse of the agricultural sector, causing food shortages and economic instability. Hyperinflation reached unprecedented levels, devastating the country's economy. Mugabe's policies contributed to social unrest. The economic challenges, coupled with political suppression, fueled discontent among the population. Protests and demonstrations became common as people voiced their frustration with the government. Infrastructure, including healthcare and education, suffered under Mugabe's leadership. The decline in these essential services further strained the well-being of the population, exacerbating the challenges faced by ordinary Zimbabweans. Mugabe's rule left a legacy of division within the country. The scars of political suppression and economic hardships continue to influence Zimbabwean society, impacting the relationships between different ethnic and political groups. It is true that Mugabe's early efforts contributed to the country's independence, but the later part of his leadership left Zimbabwe grappling with profound challenges that persist to this day. Chapter 5: International Relations. Robert Mugabe's leadership significantly influenced Zimbabwe's standing on the global stage. Mugabe's controversial policies, especially the land reforms and human rights abuses, led to international condemnation. Zimbabwe faced isolation, and various countries, including Western nations, imposed sanctions. These sanctions further strained the country's economy and hindered its ability to engage in international trade. While facing criticism from the West, Mugabe found support among some African leaders who commended his anti-colonial stance. This dynamic highlighted the complexities of international reactions to Mugabe's rule and showcased divisions in how his leadership was perceived across the continent. The strained relations with Western nations and the isolationist stance impacted Zimbabwe's diplomatic engagements. Mugabe's leadership had implications not only for the country's internal affairs but also for its position in the broader global community. Exploring Mugabe's international relations provides insight into the geopolitical ramifications of his leadership and how his actions resonated on the world stage. It's a crucial aspect in understanding the multifaceted impact of his rule beyond the borders of Zimbabwe. Chapter 6: Positive Contributions. Amidst the controversies and challenges, it's essential to recognize that Robert Mugabe's leadership also had some positive contributions, particularly in the early years of Zimbabwe's independence. In the initial years of his rule, Mugabe prioritized education, aiming to improve literacy rates and provide access to quality education for all. The government invested in schools and universities, contributing to advancements in the education sector. Similarly, efforts were made to enhance healthcare services. Mugabe's government implemented healthcare programs, addressing some health disparities and working towards improving overall public health, which was a huge issue in the continent as a whole at that time. Mugabe's commitment to addressing historical injustices, especially in the context of land ownership, was initially rooted in a desire for social equality. While the execution of land reforms had detrimental consequences, the intent to correct historical imbalances had a positive underlying principle. It's important to acknowledge these early positive initiatives to provide a balanced perspective on Mugabe's leadership. While the negative aspects have had lasting repercussions, understanding the initial intentions and positive contributions adds nuance to the evaluation of his legacy. Chapter 7: The End of an Era. In September 2019, the world received news that marked the end of an era: the death of Robert Mugabe, a polarizing figure who had held the reins of Zimbabwe for nearly 4 decades. Today, we reflect on the impact of his passing and how it resonated across Africa and the world. Across Africa, leaders and citizens offered diverse reactions to the news. Some remembered Mugabe as a liberation hero who stood against colonialism, while others acknowledged the challenges faced by Zimbabwe under his later rule. Within Zimbabwe, Mugabe's death triggered a range of emotions. It served as a moment of reflection, prompting discussions about the impact of his leadership on the nation's trajectory. The public response reflected the complexities of his legacy. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life and legacy of Robert Mugabe. His story is a testament to the complexities of leadership and the profound impact one individual can have on a nation. As we reflect on the positive contributions and controversial actions, it's a reminder that history is seldom black and white. The echoes of Mugabe's era continue to reverberate in Zimbabwe and beyond, prompting ongoing discussions about the balance between liberation, governance, and the pursuit of social justice. We encourage you to share your thoughts on Robert Mugabe's legacy and to continue exploring the stories of influential figures with us. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay tuned for more thought-provoking episodes. Until next time, this is the Free Thinker.